Hey Mom. So as I told you the other night when we were talking on the phone, I've been working on making some tools for the guys at work, and rather than send you some pictures, it's easier just to explain it on video. So hopefully you get this, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through what I've been up to. So the guys that tie rebar for us at work, they use a tool called the hicky bar, which is essentially what's right behind me here. What it's for is in this picture, not very well drawn, but this being the concrete, and then this being the rebar that sticks up from the concrete. Um, you know, say this is a floor, we run the rebar up through it to get your 30 inches of coverage to tie rebar onto it for the next floor. Now we try and always get it as vertical and straight as possible, but sometimes that doesn't work out and you end up with something like this, where most of the bar is good, but you can see that there are a few that are off kilter and that doesn't work. So what we have to do is straighten them out. And depending on the thickness of the rebar, it's some of it's easy to bend and some of it's not easy to bend. So that's what these bars are for. These bars, surprisingly enough, are used widely in North America, but they are only available out of the States. And most of them are rated for half-inch rebar, which is fine for residential, but in heavy construction, we use 20 M bar, 30 M bar, which is like an inch 3/4 to an inch and a quarter, and the bars that are available to us out of America are not rated for that. So as you'll see in the email that I sent you before this, CJ's got a few of those bars and they keep breaking. I keep patching them up, but they're not working. So he asked me, well, in sitting around talking about a better design, he asked me to make him a couple, and we came up with some new drawings for some. So this essentially is what his the rebar or the hickey bars that he has, what they look like. This is a really old tool. There's not much to it, but for some reason they haven't improved it at all, and I think that we finally have. It's just a triangle plate welded to the top of a pipe. The pipe is only 3 feet long, which, because these things are only rated for half-inch rebar to bend, 3 feet's about all the leverage you need. But when you start getting into the thicker bar, 3 feet's actually really not long enough. So like I said, that he has, it's a triangle welded to the top of the pipe with these two little gussets that I've got in red here on the side. And what keeps happening, there's a side view of it. What keeps happening is that with the head of this thing not actually notched into the pipe, it keeps bending, and these lugs that actually bend the rebar keep bending as well, like in this photo here. So that's an example of what's been happening, is this actual head keeps bending or the lugs bend. So you'll see in the picture that I fabbed onto one of his other bars basically a spine on the back, which so far seems to help, but in having to keep fixing these things, like I said, we've come up with a better design, I think. So now I'm going to show you what we've made, or what I've made. This is the new bar. So instead of a triangle on top of the pipe, it's one solid head with a spine as well. All of it's been notched into the pipe and then welded. I cut the head out first and then took the head in to a machine shop in Langley, and I mapped out the holes where I wanted the lugs, because the lugs have to go through the plate. Where I wanted the holes, and they drilled them for me. And then the lugs just get welded to that. So all in all, a much better design. I don't know, for being such an old tool, why nobody else has come up with this yet, but with it all being one piece rather than just little pieces all welded together, I think it'll be much stronger. And then with the spine on the back, the actual head itself can't bend. So there's that. And what I'm going to show you is the way these hickey bars work. Here's a piece of rebar. This is 3/4 inch rebar, which is already too big for the bars that he has. It's too not his bars aren't rated for it. So essentially, if this was sticking out of the slab, you would put, if this bar was bent and you needed to bend it back straight, or if you needed to bend it over, you would put the tool in like that, and then wherever this front lug is acts as a fulcrum. So wherever you place that on the bar, and then by either pulling up or pushing down, that will bend the bar over. So that's how that works. So he asked me to make him 3 bars. I've made him 2 of these. Not only are they thicker duty, like the actual head itself is much thicker than the ones that you can buy online out of the States. And then with that being said, also with the added spine on the back and all the reinforcing in here, I've made it 4 feet long instead of 3 to give him extra leverage. So the bars that he has right now probably, I would say, weigh about 9, maybe 10 pounds. And this one, when I weighed it the other night, came in at 12. So considering how much heavier duty it is, it's actually not too much heavier as far as weight goes. Something else that I incorporated into the new design was that oftentimes these guys will bend the bar over by slipping the end of the pipe over the bar and just pulling on it. And what was happening was, because this pipe is only 1/8 of an inch thick, it flares the end of it out in doing so many times, and eventually splits it. So I also took and reinforced it with another inner section of pipe and also a couple of rods, and welded that to give it more of a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick sidewall, so that if he slips this over a piece of rebar now and bends it, it's not going to flare the end of this thing out. So there's one of his new 4-foot bars, and I have the other one over here. There's the second one. So these are his day-to-day tools. Like he doesn't obviously wear this in a pouch or whatever, but he carries it with him, and it's near him throughout the course of the day for doing what he has to do. And I'm lucky that I managed to keep the weight down even with all the reinforcement. So 12 pounds isn't too bad. That being said though, there's when you start running into 30M bar, I'm not even certain. I mean, these would do it, but I don't know for how long. Eventually they would get so badly abused from the 30M bar, which is 1 1/4 inches thick, that you know, they would probably break as well. So, and not only that, but 4 feet of leverage is still, you know, when you're trying to bend something 1 1/4 inches thick, it takes a lot of force. So these probably, like I said, would do it for a while, but he wanted something that on the odd occasion when he needs to bend 30M, that he can do it with ease. Supposedly there's a bar that one of the steel companies in Vancouver has. He only knows of one in the entire Lower Mainland, and I haven't even seen it, but he just told me about it, that will bend that bar no problem. However, they're few and far between, and it's probably a custom made thing anyway. So basically I took the same design, what I did here, but made everything bigger and thicker, and I've created this. So I look like a cartoon character, according to B, standing next to this thing. This is what CJ calls Big Bertha. It's 6 feet in total length, and those ones there are 12 pounds, I said. This one, right, it measured in at 30 pounds on the scale, so quite heavy. It's got a bigger head, bigger lugs. It's you know, it's not something you'd want to carry around with you, and it's awkward because of its length, but it should bend that big thick rebar no problem. So because of its size, and because oftentimes, you know, you either have to go up 5 or 6 flights of stairs or down 4 flights into a hole, this is not something you want to be carrying up these tight scaffold walkways. So on top of the design of this thing, I also threaded in this crane pickup point. We found this at one of the shops where B bought some straps, and it's just big enough to get the crane hooks through. and I threaded it through and I welded it so that it meets all the specifications and can be flown. So now if he has to go way up or way down, rather than having to carry this thing, it can just be attached to the crane and either lowered or flown up to. So yeah, this thing seems overkill, and hopefully it's not a tool. I mean, we try to get the rebar where we want it, is, you know, 100%, but it doesn't always happen. So now when he does need to bend 1¼ inch bar, he's got the tool for the job. So that essentially is what I've been working on. I'll give you a rough idea here how much bigger this one is as opposed to the other one. You can see the difference in thickness on the head, and also the lugs are way bigger. Also, this bigger bar has the first 3 feet of it. I welded the head to another pipe that's smaller than this one, and then inserted it into this bigger one with both of them notched, and it's all been welded together. So he's got about 1/2 inch of thickness in the sidewall on this bar 3 feet up, just so that it doesn't end up breaking right where my hand is, or bending, or what have you. So that's just what I've been working on, and tomorrow we're going to take these to work, and we're going to field test them. So CJ, yeah, he's going to meet me there in the morning, and we're going to throw it on the 30M bar and start cranking away, and hopefully this thing holds up to the test. Anyway, that's what I've been working on. I'll send you another video of us actually putting them to use. Okay, bye.